Now understand me now. There's a time to be a mixer, because God is looking for mixers and then he's looking for separators too. But here in Ephraim's case, anytime you mix yourself with folks where you become affected by them and they win in you more than you win in them, that's the wrong mix. Oh, no. God said, no, don't take this route. Ephraim has mixed himself. And you know, when Israel, as long as Israel stayed separated, they had respect and they maintained their power. But when they went down into Babylon, into captivity, as a nation, they lost their identification, because they stopped acting like Israelites and they took on the form of the Babylonians. Well, I'm here to tell you folks, even though we as Christians is in the, can I talk to you tonight? We as Christians, even though we're in the world, we are not to be of the world. I said on the other night that you can catch a fish that was born in salt water, hatched and raised in salt water, yet when you take him out and gut him and scale him and skin him, when you get ready to eat him, you got to salt him down or drown him in lemon, because he's so fresh. Until even though he was born and lived in salt water, the salt didn't get in him. It's the same way with you and I. Even though we're in this world, we are not of this world. Are you listening to me? And so many of us have become mixed. We have mixed ourselves among the people. We have mixed ourselves among the people to this extent that we have allowed what they're doing for us to feel like we need to enjoy what they're doing more than letting them enjoy what we are doing. In Hosea, the 7th chapter, the 9th verse, Ephraim, strangers has devoured his strength. I don't care what you say. You don't want to, as a child of God, get so that you get so weak that folk can take your strength. You know your strength lies in prayer. As long as Samson stayed separated, he maintained his strength. As long as Samson stayed separated, he was a terror to the enemy. But when he went to the devil's barber shop and laid his head on the lap of Delilah, and the devil gave him a crew cut, he looked good, but he didn't have nothing. The devil will let you look good with nothing. But I'm telling you, if they call you a country preacher, if they look upon you and look upon you as somebody that's a weirdo, when you've got power with God. Because in the final analysis, folks want somebody that can get a prayer through. Look, I don't care if you're wearing high top shoes and mud is on your shoes. I don't care if your breeches come to your ankle. And I don't care if your coat comes halfway your arm. I'm here to can you get a prayer through? Do you know how to get me delivered? Can you get me healed? Can you get a hearing from the Lord? This is what folks is looking for. And I'd rather know God and look silly in your eyes than to look serene and don't even know nothing about God. Now, you know that's an awful predicament to be in. Oh, it's in the scripture. But this is what he said, I'm going to give us. You've been running around and haven't obeyed me. I'm going to give a miscarriage wound to this extent. That's why many times when God blesses you and calls things to be birthed in your spirit, you've got to be careful that the devil don't allow you to miscarry what God has given you. There are things that God has given us in revivals. There are things that God has given us in conventions and convocations. There are things that God has given us in shed-ins. There are things that God has given us in prayer as you wait before him. But you got out and got careless, and because the prayer was over, you felt everything else was over, and you allowed the devil to abort. You allowed the devil to miscarry. Anytime there's a miscarriage, it's because you don't have strength. You don't have strength to carry. Now, anytime there's an abortion, it's when you just willfully wanted to kill what God has put there. If the devil can't make you miscarry the revelation, he'll try to abort it. And you've got the purpose in your heart. Devil, I'm not going to let you abort the gift that God has given me. I'm not going to let you abort the anointing and the power and what God has given me. It may be down the road of peace, but it will surely come and will not tarry. Oh, bless his name. I know this is an unusual message for a broadcast, but I make no apology. Folks, as good as God has been to some of you sitting here, you don't have no excuse to act the way you act. Those of you that's listening to me out over the ether, as good as God has been to you, brought you back from the Vietnam War, from the Korean War, and some of you still hanging around after Second World War, and God's been good to you. You don't have no reason to have the attitude that you have that way. God has been kind and he's been merciful unto you. And what you want to do is purpose in your heart. I am not going to do as Ephraim. I'm not going to be armed, got the stuff to work with, and turn and go back in the day of battle. When God has armed you, when God has equipped you, when God has blessed you to come into a knowledge of things that a lot of people don't have. Jesus said to his disciples, many prophets would desire to know what you know. There are many prophets desire to know. You'll be surprised if preachers would desire to know what some of you know sitting here. And some of you that's listening to me over the radio and over the ether would love to know what you know. You'd be surprised what people know, but they're just quiet about it. But God said, I don't want you to take that ability and that stuff I've given you and got your bow and got your arrows and got your daggers and your weapons and your chariots and your weapons of war and got everything to work with to be a terror to the enemy, and turn around and defeat in the day of battle and turn in the day of battle. God said it's time to face the enemy. It's time to face our opponent and purpose in your heart. I'm going to be the one that he's calling for in these last evil, dejected, chaotic, corruptible days, that I'm going to be who the Lord wants to be. But I'm not going by the way of Ephraim. Strangers have devoured his strength, but I'm going by the way of God. So hey, don't take this route. And if you own that route, you best turn.